Welcome back to In Pursuit 360. Who's this guy that's telling me all this stuff? Why should I listen to him? Well, let's talk about that. All right, here we go. So who am I? My name is Greg Barnes. I'm a 21-year law enforcement veteran. I've also worked private security for 7 years off and on, in between, before and after. Currently, I am in private security. I've gone over to the private sector. My professional law enforcement career is done for medical reasons. So I'm no longer able to be out there on the streets running and gunning. I have done my time. So 21 years in active law enforcement. I spent 13 years local law enforcement working for a sheriff's office, and then I spent 8 years federal working for a federal agency in the Washington, D.C. area. So my 13-year local career I spent with the sheriff's office. A lot of people hear about sheriff's office and it's like, oh, you serve papers, or you worked in the courts, or you worked in the jail. No. So we covered all those things when I first got hired there. I was actually the first deputy that I know of that was hired directly to work the street. We had no county police department. We were it. So I was hired straight into the patrol division. Actually started my career as a volunteer, so a special deputy or an auxiliary deputy. I attended the academy. It took me almost 6 months to get through, because we went Tuesday and Thursday nights for 4 hours, and then on Saturdays for 8 hours for 6 months straight. Graduated, and then 3 months later got hired full-time. So I started my career there. Worked the road for 5 years, became a sergeant, and then a year after that became a first sergeant. My last 5 years I was a first sergeant. After 2 years I became a field training officer. After 3 years I became a general instructor at the regional academy, where I taught all the way through the end of my local career in 2006. So I started in 1993, ended in 2006. During my time there, I was a field training officer, adjunct instructor at the regional academy. I ended up being the bike patrol coordinator, the Marine patrol coordinator. I was the midnight shift commander during the DC sniper incident. I also was a brand new first sergeant the day 9/11 hit, and had to call out every shift but one to cover the streets to keep the bridges clear and the highways open. That was an eerie night. I can tell you a story on that one later. And let's see, what else? I was the midnight shift commander for Hurricane Isabella when Hurricane Isabel came through, and that one only lasted 2 nights, but that was my position then. So I did a lot with the sheriff's office, the Marine Patrol, Bike Patrol. Applied for K-9 a few times, but the standards they were looking for at that time I didn't quite meet. They wanted people to be married with kids. I had the kids part, but I wasn't married anymore and hadn't got married to my current wife yet, so I wasn't eligible for the K-9, so kind of got passed over for that. But then, everything happens for a reason, so I ended up applying for, interviewing, and getting sergeant. So sergeant for a year, and obviously it was meant to be, because a year after that I made first sergeant, and I was first sergeant for 5 years running the evening shift. So after that, when I left the sheriff's office, ended up being a background investigator for 3 years, private contract company to the U.S. government for OPM, doing background investigations for security clearances. After that, I did a short stint as a nuclear power plant security officer, all the while looking for, this was right at the, it was an election time. The economy was kind of really bad at the time. The economy had crashed, housing market crashed, things just weren't real good. So I actually took a job as a nuclear power plant security officer for a while. Actually really good training, excellent tactical training. We'll talk about that more later too. And then ended up getting hired by a federal law enforcement agency in the DC metro area. I spent 3 months down in FLETC. 1 year after my hire date, they announced a sergeant's position. I applied and was selected. So after a year with this police agency, I made sergeant. I was an administrative sergeant. I took care of all the scheduling, the training, the online training that we had to do, call outs, leave. I was the admin guy. And plus I was responsible for a few positions. I had 12 officers assigned to my squad that I had to take care of and write evals for every year and do quarterly updates and all that. And then finally I applied for and was promoted to the Field Training and Evaluation Program Commander. So I spent my last 3 years with this federal agency completely revamping their field training program. Hired 18 new FTOs. We trained on average 18 to 26 new officers 2 to 3 times a year over that 3-year period. So responsible for training a lot of new officers, training a lot of new FTOs. I created a 40-hour in-house field training program, training for the FTOs so that they could train the officers the right way with the right attitude. And there's a lot that has to do with attitude in this job. So currently I'm working for a private security company that has a U.S. government contract. I have to say that the contract requirements I'm actually impressed with. A lot of times you hear about security officers and think, oh, they're just a bunch of wannabes. These guys actually require that these security officers have some real training. So they have to go through active threat training. They have to go through handcuff training, baton training. Now they're doing OC training. So it kind of has helped to get rid of some of that stigma on security. So I've been there. I started off part-time while I was working for the federal law enforcement agency. Now I'm full-time. When I left there, I went full-time. Kind of became their number 2 for training. There was kind of a, I don't know, private company world is just different. So no longer was doing the training thing, but just got promoted to a supervisor. So now I'm hoping to use my 21 years of experience to help influence the direction that this is going in. The people that just took over the contract for this are a major global security company. I'm really hoping to impart some new vision, a new theory on the way that the private security industry is run and trained. So that's where I'm hoping to go. So now you know where I'm coming from and a quick little insight as to where I hope to go. So I'm here to help you go where you want to go. So that's what we'll talk about. That's what we're going to keep talking about. This is my second video. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. Give me a chance. Stick around for a little while. If you like it, hit the like button. Leave some comments. Let me know what you want to see, what you want to hear, what you want to do. We'll eventually get into running some scenarios and we'll get into some fancy filming and all that good stuff. So you tell me that you want me here. I'll be here for you. I'll be here for you anyway. And stay safe.